A few weeks ago, I put out a video about two stocks that I think are going to do dynamite this year. And they still might. But you have to have your beliefs about probabilities, and then you have to play those probabilities. And so sometimes you're wrong. And I don't know if I'm wrong, but I can tell you that I'm out of both of these positions. But let me just show you kind of what we're looking at. So here's NVIDIA. The two stocks were NVIDIA and Microsoft. We'll talk about NVIDIA first. First of all, we all love NVIDIA, right? But if you fall in love with the company, the stock doesn't always follow, right? Just because they're doing all the best things doesn't mean the stock is going to do the same, thing. So a lot of times the stock runs up in anticipation of all the great things that are going on at the company. And so right now, NVIDIA has run up an incredible amount, and there probably is a lot of profit taking here up near the all-time highs. And this has been an unbelievable stock for the last 25, 30 years. Now, it's got a new lease on life with AI, but the street isn't buying it, right? So if you look at this chart, and I'm going to put it on a daily in a second, but I just want to draw this little line here. This is kind of a consolidation in this area. And so it's bouncing back and forth in here between the buyers and the sellers. This is a second stage base, which is why I liked it. It's an early stage base, which means there's plenty of room for it to run when it does start to run. Now, that being said, 40% of all breakouts fail, and this has not been able to really find a good place to break out. Let me put it on a daily. And by the way, the QQQ, and this is a big part of the QQQ, the NASDAQ, is not making new all-time highs like the other indexes, or indices, whatever one you want to use. And so that's a problem. If NVIDIA is not making a high, look at the daily chart. It's a lot noisier, right? And so if I put a line down here, this is in a descending, what I call a descending triangle, right? And so it needs to get some real strength to break up in this area so that it can go higher. And it's not getting that strength right now. What it's doing is it's just kind of banging around, between 200 and 165, somewhere in there. And that's where the buyer and sellers are duking it out, right? They're trying to figure out who's going to be the winner. Well, right now it's trading around its 50-day moving average. It's been below it this week. It's slightly above it. There's really no impetus on NVIDIA. So, back in here when it starts to kind of roll over, that's when I said, that's not the best place to be. Now, let me also just I'll show you the QQQ, and you can look at it on a daily, and you can see there it is. It's making kind of a similar pattern. There's a descending kind of a triangle thing going on, and I kind of thought it was going to break to the upside. Well, it's above the 50, but it certainly hasn't broken above recent highs, certainly highs from 3 or 4 months ago. Let's look at Microsoft. So MSFT, Microsoft is trading similarly, except worse, okay? Now, in NVIDIA's case, everybody thinks the AI bubble is over, or it's a bubble and it's about to burst. I'm not sure about that thing. I think that's like saying the internet was about to burst 30 years ago. Right now, I think AI is the future, and Microsoft is embracing it. Although I got to tell you, I like some of Microsoft's products, but that Copilot thing they got, that ain't any good. I don't think it's any good. I'm in a PowerPoint thing and I'm like, help me do this slide. It's like, oh, I'm not qualified to do that. Anyway, so like from a consumer perspective, and I'm into a lot of AI, I think they're missing it. Like I don't see what Microsoft is doing. That being said, they have a backbone in Azure and Teams, and they're not going to miss this play. But look at this stock. This is on a weekly, and it is rolling over. I got out a while ago, and it's because of what is going on. I just don't like when stocks are below their 50-day moving average. I mean, great earnings and sales coming up and all that stuff, but this stock is now going into a death cross right now, where the 50-day goes below the 200, and now the stock is stuck below the 200 and below the 50-day. And I have a saying, not a lot of good things happen when your stock trades below the 50-day moving average. And so it is. And so we have this breakout a long time ago that worked. Wow, this was great, from 475 all the way to 555 or whatever that is. And then it's just kind of coming back and testing this whole area. Well, I don't think it's doing a very good test. In fact, I think this is where it's going. There's a gap on this chart. And if you follow me and you're one of my students, you know that gaps get filled. Well, there's a gap. That's where the stock seems to me to be going, like to the $400 area. Sure, it's up $5 today, yeah. But it needs a lot of help. Like some of these volumes on the sell-offs are pretty high, right? There's a volume that's 56% above the average daily volume. So listen, um, in trading, you're going to be wrong half the time, maybe more. But when you're wrong, you got to be wrong small. That's why I always tell people you got to set a circuit breaker so you're out of a stock when it's declining before it declines too much. Like, being out of this stock at 490 is a lot better than being out of this stock at 440. Duh. But, I wouldn't have known it's going to 440, but I read charts. And the charts are kind of telling us what the emotion is in the stock. And this stock, is not like an NVIDIA. NVIDIA is kind of just going sideways. This stock is now rolling over officially. And so I don't know. I'm going to wait until it, gets back down around 400 to really reevaluate. Maybe I'll miss it. Maybe I won't. But I tell you, I don't want to buy into this selling here when there could be a lot more selling coming up. And by the way, I just showed you that QQQ chart. And we are into a green market. I have this system called the Genius Market Timing System, and that system generally says that green markets last an average of about 15 to 18 days. Depends on the year, but somewhere in there. We're like double that, which means to me that we're in the seller's market right now. The sellers are kind of taking their profits and waiting for things to kind of bottom out. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I try to trade probabilities, and we're still green. So buying stocks in a still green market is still okay, except when they show charts like this and they start to roll over. So a little bit of trouble in paradise on Microsoft. And I just thought I would do a follow-up because not every trade works. Some of them don't work. And when they don't work, the key thing that I've learned in all my life is if they don't work, get out. Kill the monster while it's small, right? Don't take a huge loss just because you want to be right. Look, I made a prediction. It was a probabilistic thing. I said, well, I think Microsoft's going to break out here or continue to consolidate before the next breakout. It didn't happen. They don't happen all the time. Like, I don't know. I'm not Nostradamus, right? But if you have good risk management in your trades, you can prevent the big losses. Yeah, we sell calls against stocks, but when they go down a lot, it doesn't matter if you're getting 2% in a week. If it's going down 4%, like eventually it'll go back up, but you've got to ride it all the way down. And that's tough emotionally, which means take your profits if you've got some, take your losses while they're small, and you can always buy back in. Don't forget that. And one last thing, I'll leave it here. You can be very robotic when you're exiting. If you're emotional and you're like, oh no, I can't be wrong on this and it's going to come back and all these things that we tell ourselves, you're going to compound your losses. But if you can be very robotic, set a circuit breaker, a spot on the chart where you're going to get out. Maybe when it goes below its 50-day moving average. Maybe when it touches its 200-day moving average. Something. So that when it gets to that, you make a robotic, unemotional decision to get out. I'm telling you, your trading is going to be a lot better. So that's the quick update. Hope you're having a great day. See you on the next video. Bye.